There comes a moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and realizes, I don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Have you ever felt that moment rising inside of you? That quiet fire that whispers, enough is enough. You see, the world wants you distracted. It wants you chasing, explaining, proving, arguing, spending your energy on people who were never worthy of it in the first place. But what happens when you decide to stop? What happens when you pull your energy back, when you no longer respond, when you go silent and you focus only on you? Let me tell you something. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. It's the kind of power that makes people wonder what you're up to, what you're becoming, what you're building. It's the kind of power that makes those who doubted you suddenly nervous because they can't control you anymore. They can't read you. They can't touch you. And here's the truth. When a woman shifts her focus from them to herself, when she stops arguing with small minds and instead invests in her own growth, her own peace, her own purpose, everything begins to align. Doors start opening. People who disrespected her fall away. Opportunities appear, and life begins to fall into place, piece by piece, step by step. I want you to imagine this right now. A woman who once begged for love, now walking away with her head high. A woman who once argued to be heard, now smiling in silence while she builds her empire. A woman who once poured into everyone else, now pouring into herself, filling her cup until it overflows. That woman is unstoppable. That woman is magnetic. That woman is you. So today, I want to talk to you about that transformation. The moment you stop giving away your power and start owning it. The moment you discover that silence speaks louder than arguments and self-focus builds a life louder than words. Because when a woman focuses on herself and stays silent, everything falls into place. There is something extraordinary that happens when a woman turns the spotlight back onto herself. For so long, many women are conditioned to put others first, to nurture, to serve, to prove, to chase approval. And while there is beauty in giving, there is also danger in forgetting yourself. Because when you forget yourself, you become an empty vessel, drained of energy, waiting for someone else to fill you. But when you focus on yourself, when you decide that your growth, your healing, and your future matter more than anyone else's opinion, something shifts. That shift is where true power begins. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is survival. It is strength. It is wisdom. Think about it. You cannot pour into anyone else if your own cup is empty. You cannot lead, inspire, or love at the level you were created to. If you are constantly depleted, chasing validation from people who do not even respect your value. When a woman finally says, I choose me, she unlocks a power that cannot be taken away. She reclaims her time. She reclaims her energy. She reclaims her voice, not by shouting louder, but by building herself stronger. You see, the world is loud. People will tell you what you should be, what you should wear, who you should love, how you should act. But when you are focused, that noise doesn't shake you. You develop clarity. And clarity is everything. Clarity says, this is my vision. This is my standard. This is where I'm going. Clarity removes confusion. And when confusion leaves your life, you stop wasting time on things and people that don't deserve you. That's when your confidence starts to rise. Let me tell you something. Confidence is magnetic. When you focus on yourself, your fitness, your education, your career, your faith, your healing, people notice. Even when you don't say a word, they notice. They see the glow. They see the discipline. They see the shift in how you carry yourself. And here's the secret. When you stop chasing others, they start chasing you. Because the energy of someone who is focused is impossible to ignore. But let's be real. Self-focus takes courage. It's not easy to pull back from old habits, old relationships, old patterns of trying to please everyone. It can feel lonely. People might even criticize you, call you selfish, accuse you of changing. But listen closely. Changing is the point. Growth is the point. And sometimes growth requires separation. When you are focused, you cannot carry everyone with you. Some people will fall away, not because you hate them, but because they don't belong in the next chapter of your story. And as you focus, you begin to build. You start building discipline in your routines, setting standards in your relationships, establishing goals for your future. And little by little, piece by piece, you construct a version of yourself that is unshakable. That doesn't mean life won't throw challenges at you. It will. But when you've been investing in yourself, you meet those challenges with strength instead of fear. You don't break easily. You don't fall apart over small battles. Because you know who you are and where you're going. One of the most powerful things about self-focus is how it changes your energy. When your energy shifts, so does everything else around you. Negative people stop calling. Toxic relationships stop holding you. Opportunities start to align. Doors you once had to knock on start opening on their own. Why? Because when you change yourself, you change the frequency you're operating on. You attract differently. You command differently. You walk into rooms differently. And here's what's beautiful. When you truly focus on yourself, you stop comparing yourself to other women. You realize that your lane is yours. You realize that her success is not your competition. You begin to celebrate others because you're secure in your own path. That's when jealousy dies. That's when insecurity fades. Because the woman who is focused on herself doesn't have time for comparison. She's too busy creating. Think about a garden. If you spend your days staring at the weeds in your neighbor's yard, you'll never water your own. But when you put your energy into your own soil, your own seeds, your own garden, one day you look around and realize you're blooming, and the people who ignored you, overlooked you, or underestimated you, they'll see the results. They'll see the growth. But it won't matter anymore because you didn't do it for them. You did it for you. There is a peace that comes with self-focus, too. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop chasing closure from people who wronged you. You stop arguing with people who don't even deserve your time. You realize your peace is worth more than their opinion. And that's when you step into your power. A focused woman is dangerous in the best way. Dangerous because she cannot be manipulated. Dangerous because she cannot be distracted. Dangerous because she knows her worth, and she doesn't waste energy proving it to anyone. And here's the truth. When a woman focuses on herself, she doesn't just change her life, she changes the lives of everyone connected to her. She inspires her children, her family, her community, simply by being an example of what's possible. So, hear me. If you've been scattering your energy everywhere, trying to please everyone, it's time to pull it back. Bring it home. Pour into yourself. Focus on your health, your dreams, your growth, your peace. Because when you do that, you don't have to chase success. You don't have to chase respect. You don't have to chase love. Those things start chasing you. And that, my friend, is the power of self-focus. Silence is one of the most underestimated powers a woman can carry. We live in a world that tells you to clap back, to defend yourself at every turn, to explain, to argue, to prove. But there is a kind of strength that does not come from the noise of your words, but from the discipline of your silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. It is control. It is power in its purest form. Because when you learn to stay silent, you are no longer letting the world dictate your reactions. You are choosing your own. When a woman remains silent, people often mistake it for vulnerability. But they don't realize that silence is the loudest response you can give. Because silence forces people to face themselves. Your absence of words puts the mirror back on them. And here's the truth. Not everyone deserves a response from you. Not every insult requires your energy. Not every battle deserves your sword. There is wisdom in knowing what to address and what to ignore. There is wisdom in letting silence speak for you. Think about it. Silence confuses your critics. When someone expects you to argue, to scream, to beg, and you give them nothing, it disrupts their power. Their control dissolves. Their attempt to pull you into chaos fails. That's the beauty of silence. It makes people wonder what's going on in your mind. It makes them question whether you're stronger than they realized. Because silence is mystery. Silence is dignity. Silence is refusing to let others control your emotional state. And here's what silence does best. It protects your energy. Too many women waste years defending themselves against people who will never understand them, explaining their decisions to people who are not qualified to judge them, fighting battles that were never theirs to begin with. But when you stay silent, you preserve your strength. You don't waste your fire on those who don't deserve its warmth. You save it for your purpose, your goals, your future. Silence is a shield. It guards your focus. Now let's talk about silence in relationships. When a woman learns to stop arguing endlessly, when she stops chasing validation, when she stops begging to be seen and heard by someone who refuses to see or hear her, that's when she regains her power. Because silence says, I will not lower myself. I will not waste myself. I know who I am, and I don't need your approval to confirm it. That silence is not passive. It's powerful. It's saying, I value myself enough to walk away from noise that doesn't honor me. But let's be clear. Silence is not about suppressing your voice. It's not about swallowing your truth or avoiding what needs to be said. It's about choosing the right moment, the right battle, the right place for your words. Because words are sacred. They hold weight, and when you throw them everywhere, they lose their power. But when you are strategic, when you hold them back and release them only when necessary, your words hit harder. They carry impact. They command respect. Silence also sharpens your intuition. When you stop rushing to respond, you give yourself time to listen, to observe, to feel, to analyze. And often, what people reveal in your silence is far more valuable than anything you could have said. People show their true colors when you let them fill the air. They reveal their motives. They reveal their weakness. They reveal the truth you wouldn't have seen if you had been too busy talking. Silence is wisdom because it gives you vision. And in that vision, you grow stronger. You stop moving impulsively. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop letting people pull your strings. Instead, you move with intention. You respond with purpose. Or sometimes you don't respond at all. And that's the ultimate control, because not every action requires reaction. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Let's talk about success for a moment. Silence is often the companion of greatness. While others are broadcasting their every move, telling the world their plans, screaming for attention, the woman who stays silent is working. She is building. She is preparing, and when the results come, they speak louder than any announcement ever could. That's the beauty of silent focus. It turns you into a storm people never saw coming. By the time they notice, you've already risen. Silence also disarms your enemies. They thrive on your reactions. They feed on your anger, your frustration, your fear. When you don't give it to them, they starve. They crumble. Because the truth is, their power was never real. It only existed in how much of your energy you gave away. Silence takes that energy back. Silence keeps you untouchable. But silence is not just external, it is also internal. Learning to silence your inner critic, the voice that says you're not enough, that you'll fail, that you can't. This is where the deepest strength lies. Because when you master your inner silence, when you learn to quiet the doubts, the fears, the insecurities, then no external noise can break you. Your inner silence creates peace, and peace is the ultimate strength. So remember this. Silence is not about saying nothing. It is about saying everything without words. It's about commanding respect without needing to demand it. It's about choosing your energy, guarding your focus, and letting your results speak. A woman who can control her silence is a woman who cannot be controlled by anyone else. And that is a power no one can take away. Building from within is where everything truly begins. Before the world can respect you, before opportunities can align for you, before relationships can flourish for you, there must be strength, clarity, and purpose inside you. Too many people spend their lives trying to build everything on the outside. They chase the career, the money, the recognition, the validation. They dress up the exterior, hoping it will fix the interior. But here's the truth. If the inside is broken, the outside will eventually crumble. Real lasting power comes from the foundation you build within yourself. Think about a house. The foundation is underground, unseen by most. Nobody compliments the concrete slab. Nobody applauds the steel beams buried deep in the earth. But that foundation carries the weight of everything else. Without it, the walls crack, the roof caves in, and the whole structure collapses. That is your life. The unseen parts of you. Your mindset, your discipline, your self-belief, your character. These are the foundation. And if they're weak, no matter what you build on the outside, it will eventually fall. But if they are strong, there is nothing that can shake you. Building from within starts with knowing yourself. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you believe about yourself when the noise of the world is silent? Too many women define themselves by other people's opinions. If someone approves, they feel worthy. If someone disapproves, they feel small. That's not building from within. That's building on sand. When you build from within, you stop asking, what do they think of me? And you start asking, what do I think of myself? Because at the end of the day, you live with your choices, your character, your truth, not theirs. But building from within isn't just about self-awareness. It's about self-discipline. You cannot grow without structure. A strong woman is not built on luck or chance. She is built on habits, routines, and intentional effort. Every morning you wake up, you are laying another brick in your foundation. Do you choose growth or do you choose comfort? Do you feed your mind with knowledge or do you scroll away hours, numbing yourself with distractions? Do you honor your body with care or do you neglect it? These small choices, repeated daily, shape the woman you are becoming. That's what building from within looks like. It's the accumulation of intentional choices that strengthen you over time. And let's talk about resilience. Building from within means developing a spirit that cannot be easily broken. Life will throw storms at you. People will betray you. Opportunities will vanish. There will be days where everything feels like it's against you. But when your strength is internal, when your foundation is deep, you don't collapse, you bend, but you don't break. You stumble, but you rise again. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It's about developing the courage and strength to keep moving through it. That resilience is built inside, long before the storms arrive. Building from within also means choosing integrity. Integrity is not about being perfect. It's about being whole, being authentic, being consistent. It's about doing the right thing even when no one is watching. It's about aligning your words with your actions. Because when you have integrity, you carry yourself with dignity. And dignity is magnetic. It attracts respect. It commands trust. It sets you apart in a world where too many compromise themselves for approval. Integrity is a cornerstone of the inner foundation. Without it, everything else is unstable. There's also the matter of confidence. True confidence does not come from external validation. It comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going. Confidence is not loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. Confidence is quiet strength. It's walking into a room and not needing to announce yourself, because your presence speaks for you. That confidence is not given by others. It is built brick by brick through self-awareness, discipline, integrity, and resilience. But here's the secret most people miss. Building from within requires patience. Growth is not instant. Transformation does not happen overnight. It is slow, consistent, and often invisible at first. You may not see the results today, or tomorrow, or even next month, but every small step you take inward is shaping the woman you are becoming. Just like a tree takes years to grow roots deep enough to withstand storms, you too must give yourself time to dig deep, to strengthen your foundation, to grow from the inside out. And while you are building, remember this. The world will test you. It will tempt you to abandon your inner work for quick rewards. It will try to pull you into noise, into distractions, into validation seeking. But when you are building from within, you learn to say no. You learn to protect your peace. You learn to stay focused on the unseen work, knowing that in time, the results will show on the outside. And when they do, they will last. Because here's the truth. Everything you want, success, respect, love, opportunities, falls into place when the foundation within you is solid. People can sense when you are whole, when you are grounded, when you know who you are. That kind of energy cannot be faked. It radiates from you. It speaks before you open your mouth. And it draws the right things, the right people, the right opportunities into your life. Building from within is not glamorous. It's not always celebrated. It happens in silence, in discipline, in the choices you make when no one is watching. But it is the most powerful investment you can ever make in yourself. Because everything else, the respect you want, the success you seek, the love you deserve, it all rests on this. When the inside is strong, the outside will follow. Oh, power is a fascinating thing. Most people think it's loud. They think it's about domination, control, intimidation. They think the one with the biggest voice, the strongest punch, the most influence is the one who holds the power. But that's not the full story. Real power doesn't scream. Real power doesn't need to force. Real power is subtle, quiet, and often invisible until it reveals itself in undeniable ways. The moment a woman learns to shift the way she views power, when she stops chasing it outside herself and begins to recognize the reservoir within, that is the moment her life transforms. When a woman decides to focus on herself, when she redirects all that energy she used to pour into people who didn't value her, arguments that drained her, situations that didn't deserve her, something extraordinary happens. She shifts the balance of power. You see, people lose their power when they over-explain, when they react to every insult, when they fight for validation, when they try to prove their worth. Every time you react to someone who's trying to pull you down, you hand them the keys to your peace. But when you remain still, when you remain silent, when you stop giving them what they crave, your reaction, you take the power back, and that silence can feel louder than any scream. Think about it. Silence makes people uncomfortable. When someone insults you and you don't flinch, when they expect you to explode but you stay calm, when they try to provoke you and you simply walk away, that silence screams strength. That composure forces them to deal with themselves because you've removed yourself from their game. You're no longer playing on their terms, and that shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly they're no longer in control. You are. The shift of power isn't just about silence, though. It's about redirection. Imagine taking all that emotional energy you've been giving away, explaining yourself, proving yourself, chasing people, trying to win arguments, and instead you invest it into your growth. You invest it into your fitness, your career, your spiritual life, your mental clarity. Instead of pouring out, you pour in. Instead of shrinking to fit, you expand into who you're meant to be. That shift of focus creates a shift of power because now you are no longer defined by their approval or rejection. You become defined by your own progress. And here's the truth. People feel it when your energy changes. They notice when the woman who used to argue has become silent. They notice when the one who used to explain herself no longer bothers. They notice when you no longer chase, no longer beg, no longer bend, and it bothers them because your silence, your stillness, your self-focus exposes their lack of control. The shift of power reveals who truly had it all along, you. But let's make this clear. Power isn't about controlling others. That's a shallow definition. Real power is about controlling yourself. It's about mastering your emotions, your responses, your boundaries, your energy. When you master yourself, nobody can manipulate you. They can try, but it won't work. They can push, but you won't move. They can test you, but you'll remain grounded. That is true power. The kind that doesn't come from external dominance, but from internal mastery. There's another level to this. The shift of power also comes from clarity of purpose. When you know where you're going, when you're building something bigger than yourself, when you have a vision for your life, distractions lose their grip. Petty arguments, toxic relationships, unnecessary battles, they no longer interest you. Why? Because you're too busy building, you're too busy growing, you're too busy becoming. And that focus is power, because while others waste time playing games, you're stacking bricks, leveling up, and creating a future they can't touch. And let's talk about respect. Respect doesn't come from yelling, proving, or forcing. Respect comes when people realize they cannot shake you. It comes when they see you no longer playing the game they thought they controlled. It comes when you stop chasing and start attracting. Respect comes when you demand it, not with your words, but with your actions, your silence, your energy, your standards. The shift of power is magnetic. It draws respect without ever asking for it. But here's the part most people don't see. Shifting the power also shifts your relationships, your opportunities, your entire life. When you no longer seek validation, you attract people who value you without conditions. When you no longer give away your energy to drama, you create space for peace, creativity, and growth. When you no longer fight battles that don't deserve you, you preserve your strength for the victories that truly matter. That's how everything falls into place, because when the power shifts back to you, you become the center of your own life again. And remember this, silence is not weakness. Self-focus is not selfish. These are the tools of transformation. They are the signs of someone who knows their worth and no longer feels the need to prove it to anyone else. That kind of woman is unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable. She doesn't need to raise her voice because her presence speaks for her. She doesn't need to fight because her growth defeats every doubt. She doesn't need to chase because everything she needs comes to her in time. That is the ultimate shift of power. So when a woman focuses on herself and stays silent, she's not retreating, she's not losing, she's reclaiming, she's rising, she's stepping into the kind of power that doesn't just change her, it changes how the world responds to her. Because once the power shifts, there is no going back. She owns herself. She owns her energy, she owns her destiny. And that's the kind of power that cannot be taken away. There comes a moment in life when the pieces you once thought were broken, scattered, or lost forever, start to align in ways you never expected. That moment doesn't come when you chase after people. It doesn't come when you force situations, or when you beg for validation, or when you try to manipulate outcomes. It comes when you finally take a step back, focus inward, and let go of the need to control everything and everyone. That's when everything falls into place, not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger, wiser, and more grounded in who you are. When a woman shifts her focus to herself, she sets into motion a chain reaction. She begins to reclaim the energy she once wasted on people who didn't deserve it, on arguments that drained her, on trying to prove her worth to those who never intended to see it. She starts pouring that energy into her health, her career, her dreams, her peace, her spirit. And the most incredible thing happens. What once seemed chaotic begins to take shape. Her silence speaks louder than her words ever could. Her presence starts to demand respect without asking for it. Doors that were once closed begin to open. People who underestimated her begin to watch. Opportunities begin to align. That is the beauty of letting everything fall into place. But here's the truth most people miss. Things don't fall into place by accident. They fall into place because of alignment. Alignment happens when your actions, your values, and your vision match. When you say no to what no longer serves you, when you walk away from what disrespects you, when you choose peace over drama, growth over stagnation, purpose over distraction, that alignment makes you magnetic. It pulls the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments into your orbit. It doesn't happen overnight, but with patience and consistency, you begin to see life bend toward your focus. Think about it. When you're constantly reacting to others, your energy is scattered. You're pulled in 100 directions, none of which serve you. But when you focus inward, you consolidate your power. You become steady. You become clear. And clarity has gravity. It pulls things toward you, things that match the frequency of the person you're becoming. That's why everything seems to fall into place, not because the world changed, but because you did. There is also a deep lesson in silence. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop defending yourself against every misunderstanding, when you stop trying to be heard by people committed to not listening, you reclaim your time, your peace, and your dignity. And when you do that, you suddenly have room for the things that actually matter. Your silence becomes space, and in that space, growth begins. In that growth, alignment begins. And in that alignment, life begins to reorganize itself around you. And here's what's powerful. People start to treat you differently when you focus on yourself. At first, they may be confused. They may even be angry because your silence removes their control. But over time, they recognize something different about you. They sense that they can't shake you like they used to. They notice that you're no longer reacting, no longer bending, no longer begging. They see your energy shift, and it forces them to adjust how they deal with you. That is when respect starts to show up, not because you demanded it, but because you commanded it through the power of silence and focus. But respect is just one piece. The real beauty lies in how your life begins to blossom. Suddenly, you notice opportunities that you were too distracted to see before. You notice people who genuinely support you because your silence has filtered out the ones who only wanted to drain you. You notice how much stronger you feel, how much more confident, how much more in control, not of the world, but of yourself. That control is the foundation of everything falling into place. Because when you control yourself, you don't need to control outcomes. You trust the process, you trust the alignment, you trust that what is meant for you will find its way. And it does. The relationship that respects your boundaries shows up. The career opportunity that matches your value arrives. The peace you've been craving settles into your life. None of it comes from chasing. None of it comes from begging. None of it comes from forcing. It comes from standing still, being clear, holding your boundaries, and focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. That is when life says, finally, you're ready. That's when it gives you what you've been seeking all along. The process isn't always easy. There will be days when it feels like nothing is happening, when your silence feels heavy, when your self-focus feels lonely. But understand this, during those silent seasons, everything is aligning behind the scenes. The work you're doing on yourself is preparing the path. The boundaries you're holding are clearing the space. The silence you're keeping is protecting your peace. And soon all those unseen efforts begin to manifest in ways you can see, touch, and feel. That is the moment when everything begins to fall into place. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this. When everything falls into place, it's not because you got what you wanted, it's because you became who you needed to be. You stopped chasing and started attracting. You stopped begging and started building. You stopped fighting for scraps and started claiming your seat at the table. That transformation is what shifts everything. Because life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. And when you become aligned, whole, and grounded, life has no choice but to meet you there. So when a woman focuses on herself and stays silent, she is not withdrawing, she is not losing, she is positioning herself for alignment. And when alignment comes, everything begins to make sense. The pain you went through, the silence you endured, the focus you held, it all leads to a life that feels right. A life where you no longer have to fight for love, for respect, for opportunities, because they come to you, they fall into place. Let me bring this home for you. Life has a way of testing you, of pulling you in every direction, of tempting you to fight battles that were never meant to be yours. But the truth is this, when you focus on yourself and you protect your silence, you step into a power that no one can take away. You don't win by shouting louder. You don't win by proving yourself to people who will never see your worth. You win by rising, by building, by becoming so solid in who you are that the noise around you no longer matters. When a woman locks in on her own growth, when she pours into her mind, her body, her spirit, When she stays rooted in silence, instead of wasting words, life begins to bend in her favor. Everything starts to align. The relationships that matter stay. The ones that don't fall away. The opportunities that are meant for her appear. The peace she's been searching for becomes her daily reality. So here's the message. Don't chase, don't beg, don't lower yourself for anyone. Protect your energy like it is gold, because it is. Stand still in your power. Stay focused on your mission. And let your silence work for you, not against you. Because when you do, you'll find that life doesn't just happen, it aligns. And when it aligns, everything falls into place exactly the way it's supposed to. And when that happens, you won't just survive. You will thrive. You will rise. And you will shine in a way that no one can dim. Stay focused. Stay silent. Stay powerful. Because everything you've been waiting for is already on its way.